let's do this. So, Disney. I don't like them. It's no secret that I absolutely hate them as a company, but for a studio who produces anime movies and just movies in general, they are pretty good, with a lot of their main studio movies being amazing, and also outside projects like The Nightmare Before Christmas being some of my favorite movies. But as a company, they're not that great. I mean, I'm not gonna go in it for obvious reasons, but let's just say there's a lot, as you most likely know. I would have preferred to do a video like this back in 2021 when Encanto came out, because it was their 60th movie. But to be exact, I kind of wanted to wait for it because of their 100th anniversary, which is this year. And honestly, instead of this year being noted as Disney's 100th anniversary, it's instead gonna be noted as a year where two big studios had 100th anniversaries and failed miserably at them. Okay, but just round this up anyways, I am a fan of Disney. I mean, even with all their controversy themselves, they have made some great movies, and as you'll see through this ranking, they are some of my favorites. Well, mainly I'm talking about the first one, which may be obvious to you, but I mean, genuinely, at least a lot of them are classics. Even though if not one of them is amazing, they at least will hold a special place to someone's heart, at least, or even be referenced many times, and it's just kind of nice. I do apologize for my ramblings right now with how kind of I feel like I'm not making sense right now like I normally do, but well, not saying that I may... Okay, I'll shut up now, but anyways, so yeah, I am gonna be ranking every single Disney animated movie, all 62 of them. This is my list, and just to say, that this is only gonna include, movies under the Walt Disney Animation brand, so stuff like a Goofy movie or Nightmare Before Christmas will not be included on this list, though if you would like to know, with A Nightmare on Christmas, that would be in second place for me. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling on, and let's get started with this. In last place, Home on the Range, a terrible, terrible movie, with some of the most unlikable characters ever. I mean, I hate these characters. There's only one of them that is at least decent. The rest are just annoying. The humor itself is just so... It just doesn't work. I mean, genuinely, it's a disgrace to Disney in general. Like, with their amazing movies and many other stuff, with their movies, like animation and stuff like that, feels like a disgrace. Animation, okay, maybe add that out, because the animation itself is probably the only positive. I mean, it's not amazing by any means, but there are some cool stuff with it, but for the most part, just, it's so bad. What else do I need to say about this? I need to take a drink for this one. But the Three Caballeros. I have a hatred for this movie. I think this may have been the first package film I watched, maybe. If you don't know what the package films Disney did, they are essentially two or more short films in one. Because of World War II, they didn't have the money to make stuff like Snow White or Pinocchio. They instead just made shorts and pitted them together as a movie, even though most of them are 40-ish minutes, which are a feature length, which is a feature length runtime. They don't really feel like movies, but either way, they're allowed to be on this list. But the Three Caballeros. I mean, the show is good. This isn't. The most noticeable thing is that Donald Duck is horny. I don't. Fun and fancy free with the most annoying bear ever, Bongo the Bear. Like Bongo the Bear is like 30-ish minutes long, and it is just so painful to watch. I mean, Jesus Christ. But I mean the last segment with Mickey Mouse and the Beanstalk, that shit is kind of alright. I mean, the most noticeable thing is the meme, but even then, it's not really that memorable. It's just bland. The entire thing is bland. All there is like what, Jiminy Cricket, right? I don't know. I don't really care. Once again, it's dull, boring. I mean, animation is also nice, but eh. Make Mine Music, the movie Disney is embarrassed about, just along with Song of the South. Not as much as Song of the South, but, yeah. I mean, it probably shouldn't have been, like, I don't know why they have, like, the only way to fully watch it, at least, is through a 20-year-old DVD. I don't remember how I watched it, but it's the same. I mean, what was it? The whales? I have no idea. It's the same. Melody time. Melodies that put you to sleep. What else do you want me to say? It's the exact same thing. It's boring. The animation is good, I guess. It's not fun. Ah, thank God. Not package film anymore. But even with that, this is still boring. The Rescuers is absolutely boring. There is nothing to it. It is stale as dry. It's nothing. It's so boring. The animation, even with it having some cool stuff with it, and, the flight scene with the window. But, anyways, it's just so dull. I mean, it's just so dull. It's so... You ruin a sequel. No, you just... You ruin a great movie. You ruin a great movie. A movie that it could do great as a sequel, but they just have to butcher it. The relationship with Ralph and Vanellope is just the worst. They are terrible. I hate these two in this movie. I mean, genuinely. I'm someone who actually liked Vanellope in the first movie, but, here, I hate both of them. I literally hate both of them. They are both terrible. I just hate it. The animation itself is great, even with there being some stuff that isn't great. I remember there was a Dan TDM cameo in the UK for a little bit when I was in theaters. The most memorable thing about it for me is that this is like the first movie I saw in IMAX. Yeah, I mean, not that much to remember aside that, Groomer made a cameo in it. That aged well. Oh god, we're back to this, but admittedly, this one is a little better. I think this was the movie before Three Caballeros, because I think the Three Caballeros is a sequel. I don't know what one is making first. I think Three Caballeros is the second one, but anyways, this one is the same, basically, like the others, but, you know, it's more tolerable, I guess. This was the only Disney movie I hadn't seen, and I watched it for the first time, I believe, a month ago, I want to say, but even with that, it's so nothing. I mean, the movie itself was meh. It wasn't that bad, but, it was kind of boring, but there was some entertaining stuff, and the voice stuff is very funny. Look into that one if I mean, generally, it's so funny with it, but even with that, it's just, Merlin is cool, but the rest, it's so dull. And when you get at the end off it, they just completely forgot about the Sword in the Stone, and then they just hammered it in, and then they had the most rushed ending ever that just made the entire thing pointless. I mean, why would why would Merlin teach Arthur with this stuff with animals if it doesn't apply to anything with the ending or something? I mean, there's some cool stuff. I mean, that squirrel scene, I mean, that was kind of animated coolly, I guess. The final battle with Merlin and Madame Mim was kind of fun, but even then it's just nothing. The movie that Disney it was such a bad box office return for Disney that it didn't show up on VHS until the late 90s, I think 95 or 7. Correct me if you'd like in the comments, but yeah, this movie's all over the place. I mean, the characters themselves are just dull. The entire movie, it feels so dark and cool. I'm all for that, but they do nothing with it. I mean, well, they do, but it's all over the place. I mean, it's once again there. Oh god, Pocahontas. This is the literal definition of Oscar bait, because this has been the only movie that Disney has ever made, or any animated movie for that matter, I believe so anyways, to get nominated for Best Picture and win it, because after Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture but lost to Silence of the Lambs, which admittedly I do think is well deserved, but still could have been cool. Michael Eisner, hopefully I'm not getting that wrong, please forgive me if I do, but, he wanted to make a movie that was for, that would win Best Picture. I mean, genuinely. He wouldn't just think it would get nominated for it, but it won. And also another project, which was the Beep Project, which you may know and you'll see later, was just nothing basically to them, and look how that turned out. I mean, it got some awards, and I think it got some wins for the music, but hey, I mean, generally, I think Colors of the Wind is kind of good. Savages is admittedly kind of funny, I guess, but even then, the animation is kind of dull and lifeless with the human characters. The animals themselves are expressive, particularly the raccoon, who looked kind of expressive. There are some nice background stuff, but it's just boring.
My word! An Indian!
Brother Bear, it's all over the place, admittedly. It has a goofy tone, and then it just doesn't. I mean, the animation is pretty good. The animation is really good with, some great stuff, especially with the sky itself in it. The voice acting is really great also, but the movie itself is kind of bad, admittedly. I guess it's meh. I don't know. I don't really care for it. I'm not a fan. I've never really been a fan. I think my sister loves this movie, or at least my mom and sister love it, and I've just never been a fan of it. I mean, there is some cool stuff with it, but even with that, it's just, once again, it's just bland, and it just, maybe I need to rewatch again. I just don't care for this one. Strange World. I was actually looking forward to this movie, but when the trailer dropped, I got and the movie itself was And I mean, it's fine. There is some cool stuff with it, particularly with the Strange World, though the character designs are really off. I mean, I do like cartoony stuff in CG. I mean, I like Hotel Transylvania, and even Sony Pictures, also their other movie, Wish Dragon, which I also really enjoyed. And also Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but here it just didn't work with character designs. I mean, there is some cool stuff with it, mainly with the Strange World, like I said, but even... Yeah, the fatherly dynamic is kind of decent, I guess, even if predictable. The voice acting is kind of good, particularly from Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought did actually a pretty good job with it, but for the most part, it's just there. The animation is pretty good, but even with that, it's just so. The twist is decent, I guess, but you know, it's another forgettable modern Disney movie. Raya and the Last Dragon. I mean, it's just meh, I guess. Why is the love for this... Why does this get a lot of love with it? I mean, genuinely, it's kind of weird, admittedly. I don't know why. I mean, the animation is kind of good, but even with that, the backgrounds are really bad with the animation itself. I mean, the backgrounds look great, but then you just get the cartoonish character designs with it. It really doesn't add to it. The writing is really bad, with no one sounding like they're from that time period. The voice acting is kind of good, admittedly. I do like Sisu, not as a character, but her design is really great. But it's just, once again, it's nothing. I just... Okay, just heads up, this is very far up. Admittedly, this through the next couple are okay, and then the rest are good to great. But Aristocats I've never really been a fan of. I've never really been a fan of the music, but admittedly, some jazz stuff with it is really great. I love the character designs, but even with that, I've never really been a fan. There is some good stuff. I like it a little more the more I think about it, but for the most part, yeah, it's just there. Robin Hood. I've never really been the biggest fan of Robin Hood itself. I mean, I like the story itself, but I mean, this movie just feels, it's there, it's, you know, there's, the writing kind of sucks. The animation, I mean, genuine, there's some good stuff with it, but for the most part, yeah, it's also there. It's fine itself, but, you know, it's nothing that I really think of that much at all. In fact, I don't really remember that much off it. I mean, it's just, I guess. It's just fine. It's okay. Dinosaur. I admittedly appreciate this movie more than I actually like it, but for the most part, I do enjoy this movie. I mean, my biggest issue with it is by far its story. It definitely just feels really dragging along, if you understand what I mean. But, you know, there is some nice stuff, even with the CG being outdated, but even before that, it's kind of good. James Newton Howard's score, is great. There is a lot of great stuff with it, but for the most part, yeah, it's alright. I wouldn't mind rewatching it again, but for the most part, I have enjoyed this. It's kind of more of a guilty pleasure. I do like it. I do appreciate more than I like it, but yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and if you are curious, I would recommend it, especially if you are a dinosaur lover. It's decent, I guess, but you know, it's fine. I've also never really been a big fan of Dumbo. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff. I mean, I got plush off Dumbo a while back, and I love Dumbo as a character. I love the mouse. What's his name again? Why have I forgotten? Timothy Q. Mouse. I forget his name. Or whatever, but, you know, the movie, I mean, there is some great stuff with it. I mean, the drunk scene with all the balloons is terrifying, and it does it just so greatly. I mean, I love that scene, but for the most part, yeah, it's just, you know, it just felt really mean-spirited, and I mean, I kind of like some mean-spiritedness and stuff, not that I'm, you know, not just like I'm an asshole in real life, which I am, obviously, but, you know, it's alright. I mean, there are some great stuff with it, with the animation, but, yeah. But I feel like Disney kind of wants you to forget about the Crows, even though they have it on their streaming service and stuff. Frozen 2. Admittedly, this movie's a little more focused than the original, because it doesn't have, like, 3,000 songs in the first 30 minutes, but yeah, it's fine. The animation is pretty great with the water stuff, and there is some great stuff. A lot of the story is kind of interesting, but admittedly, yeah, it's just there. The music is also pretty good. I do like Olaf in this, because admittedly, I kind of like Olaf. I like Olaf for some reason. I kind of do, but yeah, it's fine. But I have no hope for 3 and 4. Jesus. But who knows, could be decent, those ones, but for the most part, yeah, this one's fine. Also, I don't really have that much to say, other than the animation is kind of cool, voice acting is nice. Songs are also good, but yeah, that's about it. I don't know why, but I actually enjoy Oliver and Company. I am not a fan of the Broadway Oliver and Twist. I have just always hated it for some reason, but with this, I enjoy it. This is very much not fully a Disney movie, but admittedly, I kind of feel like it works. I mean, even with the advertisements feeling very outplaced in a Disney movie, it kind of works, for the most part. I mean, it does feel like it fits the setting with it, but, you know, it's just, it doesn't really, you know, there's a lot of it that doesn't really, isn't perfect. The story itself isn't good at all, but, I don't know, it just has a nice vibe with it. I don't know, it's just a nice watch. There is some good stuff with it, the animation itself, even with, some of it not being amazing, but yeah, I enjoy it. Oh, yes! Oh boy, so I feel like I have a history with Chicken Little. I don't want to go into it now. Maybe I'll do a video on it sometime soon, but, oh boy! I like to call it I had a Chicken Little phase. I'll talk about it some other time, but, like, maybe if I get 100 subscribers, maybe I'll talk about it, but yeah, I don't know why this is a guilty pleasure for me. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, even though I don't like rating movies on nostalgia, but I don't know, I don't know. I mean, even if it has Buck Cuck in it, who is awful, and I hate him, I mean, there is some nice stuff with it. I mean, I like Fox and the Hound. From this point on to the rest that says good, I think the rest of these movies are good. And yeah, I enjoy Fox and the Hound. I think it has a nice story with it, but for the most part, it is kind of weird. I mean, that dog that falls off a freaking, what, train bridge or something? I have no idea. Literally falling to his death, and somehow he survives with not a scratch on him and what, just a broken leg or something. That feels weird, but admittedly, I like that no one dies in this movie, but admittedly, it is very sad, and, you know, it works with it. I haven't seen it in a while. I mean, you know, I wouldn't mind rewatching it again, so, yeah, it's kind of good. Voice acting is pretty nice, and, yeah, it has a nice tale with it. The sequel sucks, but, yeah, I enjoy it. Bolt, which I actually enjoy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not really amazing. There is a lot of issues with it, but I don't know why. I have a lot of fun with this movie. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a little underrated, in my opinion. I enjoy it. I actually like John Travolta's voice acting in this. Even Miley Cyrus does a good job. I mean, it knows what it's doing, and I think it works with that. Oh god, the one that started this all. This is 10 years old. I have no idea how I still remember it, remember seeing it in theaters, even though I mainly remember seeing the short before that mainly, but yeah, I enjoy Frozen. It is very flawed, and I felt like wanting to rip my ears and eyes out in a video game, obviously, because of how popular it was. I mean, it was inescapable. In fact, I clearly remember because Coco didn't come out in the UK until January instead of November. So it said for, I believe, December, they showed the Once Upon a Snowman short by itself and then followed it up with the original movie back in 2017, I believe. Yeah, 2017. Obviously. Sorry. But yeah, and in fact, I even got myself toys off it. I mean, I think it was like with the marshmallow kind of snowman stuff that were like tiny snowballs. And they were, on top of each other like a stack, I believe. I think that's what I got years ago. I have an Olaf plush. I did enjoy this movie a lot, mainly because me and my sister with us, but, it's enjoyable enough. The animation is pretty good, even though, the story is very flawed, and there's, like, a gazillion musical numbers, but, yeah, for the most part, I do enjoy it. Pinocchio, a classic family-friendly movie about if you are a child, and if you disobey your parents, you will be turned into a donkey. Truly magical. I mean, all jokes aside, I do enjoy this movie, even with its terrifying Treasure Island. See, right? I just, I mean, the remake sucks, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I enjoy Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio more, which if you haven't seen that yet, please do yourself a favor and go watch it, but yeah, I enjoy Pinocchio. It is flawed, admittedly, yes, but I don't know, it's kind of nice, and it's the first time we heard Mel Blanc spoken of Disney movie, with the rest being cut out and just hearing a smoke cough. Wow, this was his only Disney movie? I don't care. Moving on, this is good, but moving on. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Admittedly, this is a movie I also appreciate more than I like it, but honestly, yeah, I do enjoy this movie. It does have some nice stuff with it, but for the most part, maybe the remake could improve on that, but I highly doubt it, but, it is pretty good itself, but, it's never something I fully loved a lot, but, there is some great stuff with it. I do enjoy it. Peter Pan, even with its racism in the movie, it is good itself. It does have a nice magical tone with it, even though Peter Pan is clearly a child abductor, I guess. But, I like this movie. Captain Hook is amazing. I love the ship crew itself, and, I do enjoy this movie. Atlantis, The Lost Empire, a rather underrated Disney movie in my opinion. I really do enjoy this movie. In fact, recently, my dad found the old VHS TV that we used to have, and we bought this. I mean, and I rewatched it with a VHS tape. I mean, I even got a couple back here that got in recently. There, that's maybe there, I guess, for this. Jesus Christ, this camera is good. Cameras confuse me, but anyways, yeah, I do enjoy this movie. Admittedly, I was more impressed with the VHS working itself than actually watching it, but yeah, I do enjoy this movie. It is flawed, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I do like it. Wish, Disney's most recent movie, and I surprisingly liked it. Sorry for my terrible stuff. The dumb stuff I said in my review. I sounded like an idiot. I don't know why. I thought I did, but anyways, I did enjoy this movie. It's not a masterpiece, don't get me wrong, but I do enjoy it, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again. It is very flawed with the musical numbers, with how many there is. There are some flaws with the animation, but for the most part, I did enjoy this movie, and I would like to rewatch it again sometime. Though I still wanted Once Upon a Studio to play before it, because that's what I was promised, but here we don't get it because it sucks! Lady and the Tramp. It's sweet, actually. Aside from the famous and masterful spaghetti scene, it is actually pretty good. I do enjoy this movie, even with there being flaws and inspiring a boring remake and a boring sequel. I do enjoy it a bunch. It has a nice heart to it, and I do think it works. I haven't seen it in a while, really, and I would like to rewatch it sometime, and yeah, I do like this movie, even as a dog lover. Bambi, the movie that inspired John Lennon, right? John Lennon? Yeah, I think it's John Lennon. But anyways, yeah, it's nice, even with there being a lot of flaws with it, like with its tone. But yeah, I do enjoy this movie. I like Bambi as a character, and I also like the sequel, which is more of a midquel, actually, which I would recommend. And I kind of prefer a little bit more than this movie, but yeah, I do enjoy this movie a bunch, and yeah, I did enjoy it. The Jungle Book, look for the bear. No, okay, I'm not gonna sing, but yeah, I do enjoy this movie. My biggest issue with it is by far its script. It feels really all over the place, like, honestly, yeah, it is really good. The animation itself is really great with amazing scenes itself that's just amazing itself, and the songs themselves are great. Obviously, Bare Necessities and other stuff with it, and with the final song basically being very outdated. But yeah, I do enjoy this movie. I think it's really good. It has some nice stuff with it, and I do like Shere Khan in the movie, but admittedly, this is a time where I actually prefer the remake. I don't know why. The remake, I kind of prefer, even with it being from Jon Favreau, the person who loves realism. But yeah, I do enjoy this movie a lot. And with it being very flawed, I do think it's good. Meet the Robinsons, yeah. I kind of prefer this a little bit more as a guilty pleasure, but admittedly, I do really enjoy this movie. I like the story itself. It's surprisingly heartfelt, even with the animation not being amazing and being kind of outdated with it, and CG not that good, but yeah, I do enjoy this movie. I just think its tone is really good, even, yeah, I do enjoy this movie, and it has one of the most saddest villains in any Disney movie. The Rescuers Down Under. I don't fully get the hate for this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, and with some stuff feeling weird, but for the most part, I do really enjoy this movie. The animation itself is beautiful, especially the opening itself just looks amazing. It's not perfect, but admittedly, it is light years better than the just boringness of the original. But yeah, I really do enjoy this movie. Oh, Tarzan! Yeah, baby! Aside from the Bill Collins songs, this is a good movie, and I do like it a lot. Even with there being issues, it is really great. The animation is fantastic. I really like Tarzan as a character. I love his and Jane's relationship in the movie, and it has one of the most terrifying Disney deaths ever, obviously. But yeah, I do enjoy this movie. This is also, now at this point, the rest of the movies I would consider great. I mean, all of these movies now I think are on a great tier, and starting with Encanto, I did enjoy this movie. This is Disney's 60th movie, and yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda does a great job with the music. It's so great, and with the meme with We Don't Talk About Bruno, it is actually kind of a good song. A lot of it is good. I love Mirabelle as a character. I don't know why. I've only seen the movie once. I attempted to rewatch it. I think, Christmas, maybe? Around that time in 2021 when it dropped on Disney Plus, but didn't finish it. But I do enjoy this movie. I would like to rewatch it again. The music is great. But yeah, I do like this movie. It is flawed. I mean, the story itself feels a little all over the place at times, but yeah. I think this is a good movie with great animation, and I really love and I love the ending. It's just kind of emotional, actually. Hercules. I forgot how fun this movie was. It is not perfect by any means. It's a little less funny than people say it is, and its story isn't the best, but I do really like this movie. It's so much fun. I love Hercules as a character. The voice acting is amazing. Danny DeVito was the perfect choice. I love Hades as a villain. Such a great movie. It's so much fun. I really love this movie. Fantasia 2000, the year-long sequel to the original movie that has a lot of celebrity cameos. But yeah, I do also like this movie, not as much as the original. We'll get to that later, but yeah, I do really enjoy this movie. The stories themselves are great. I think it was Rhapsody Blues, I want to say it is, which may be my favorite segment in it. I just love the animation in that. I don't know, it's my personal favorite of the animation, and the music is just top notch. It is a really great movie with a lot of nice segments in it, and while not as memorable as others, I do think it is a good movie. It is a lot of stuff, and yeah, I do like this movie, not as much as the original, but yeah, I do think this is a good movie, and I do think it nearly lives up to the original, and I'm trying to not repeat myself with every ending of the segment, I guess. Sleeping Beauty, with one of my favorite Disney villains ever. I mentioned Maleficent in my top 20 favorite horror movie. No, not horror movie villain. Sorry, I got confused. I didn't really touch on her much because she was an honorable mention, but I mean, genuinely, she is just so great. I just love her as a villain. The animation is spectacular. I really do like Aurora. She's actually one of my favorite Disney princesses, maybe in the top 10. I don't know. I just really like her character. The three fairies are also really great. I also love them. This is a really good movie. I do enjoy it. It is very magical. I love the final battle with the movie where Maleficent just turns into a dragon. I mean, it's just magical. I love this movie. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect by any means, but I do think it's great, and it actually has smart characters for once. Zootopia, the furry movie, where morally, when I look back at this, I'm pretty sure my theater was stacked with furries. I can't fully remember, but I'm guessing it may have did. But yeah, I do enjoy Zootopia. It is actually kind of nostalgic for me. I mean, I still remember watching this movie, and I was kind of terrified by it, but I do like this movie a lot. The animation is great. I love the world it just builds. I just love Zootopia as a place. It is just amazing. And though I am skeptical of the sequel, I am hoping it will be good and better than the short series we got with it. The voice acting is great. The humor is great. And I really love the message with the movie. And it is actually a good movie about politics. Surprise, surprise. I love weird movies. I mean, genuinely, I love stuff like The Lighthouse, and Alice in Wonderland is probably maybe the one that started me to like weird movies. It's just so vibrant. It's full of colors and everything. I just love this movie, and even with theory with her being on drugs, which kind of feels a little accurate, even though she doesn't seem happy with it, I don't know. But I do like this movie a lot. It just has so much with it. It's so weird and just mesmerizing with it. The animation is some of Disney's best. I love this movie a lot. It's just so great. It's so good. Cinderella. I actually bought the 4K off the movie that here it is, which admittedly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the 4K is as amazing as people say it is, but I do think it is rather really good. Maybe it was my TV and all, but you know, I do think that the 4K was good, and the movie itself is really great. I mean, the story itself, it doesn't really have a lot to it, but I do enjoy it. I like the mice, actually. They're kind of like the good versions of the Minions before they came popular. Not the mice, but like before the Minions came popular. They're good as side characters, not least. But, you know, yeah, I do enjoy this movie a lot. I love Cinderella as a character. Just the animation itself is great. I love the dress itself. It's so glittery, it's just so great. I love it a lot, obviously. I love the fairy godmother, even with the short time she has. It's just great. The music is amazing. I really also like Nightingale, Sweet Sweet Nightingale, that's in the movie, which I kind of feel like is a little bit of an underrated song in the movie, and I do enjoy it a lot. The Great Mouse Detective. I don't know why, but this movie just feels a little overlooked to me. I mean, this movie's so much fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has issues with the animation, like, the rain just feeling like it's just pouring. I mean, I know that's just a couple with Disney movies, but, you know, it just frustrates me a lot, but, you know, it is still a really great movie. I love Ratigan as a villain. The characters are great. I love Basil. I just love the characters. The mystery itself it just has so much with it. And with them being mice themselves, it is very big itself. The world, amazing. I kind of wish we got a sequel of this or something, like, because I would have liked to see more of this story, actually. Tangled. I am a fan of Tangled. Don't get me wrong. It is obviously flawed, but I actually do really enjoy it. I love the story itself. The animation is great. I love Rapunzel as a character. I love Flynn. I just love these characters together. They're just great. Even the chameleon, even though he has a comic relief. I mean, genuinely, Mother herself, I forgot her name, but I think she is an amazing villain herself, and also the show is pretty good. I recommend watching it if you haven't, but yeah, I do really enjoy this movie. It has a lot with it. The music is great. Alan Menken, right? Yeah, genuinely, this is a really good movie. And even with its flaws, I do think it is a standout with how good it is. Treasure Planet. I feel so sad that it flopped. I wish I supported it, but I hadn't been born yet, and if so, I would have watched it in the theater. But I mean, genuinely, this movie's just so good. I love the characters. I mean, it's just nice. I don't want to say much about it. Not only have I kind of forgotten a lot about it, but I don't really want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, because it's just a nice watch, honestly. It's really good, and if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it, honestly, because this is another Disney movie that is kind of popular now, but even with that, I just feel like it doesn't get that much attention itself. So, you know, I would always support this movie, as much. Like, if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It is a really good movie. The animation, it's great. I really like this movie. Pretty underrated. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This, you know you've done a good job when you are the only package film that Wish mentions. mainly just for the Headless Horseman segment, but still, I mean, genuinely, it is just so good. These two stories just belong with each other. Wind in the Willows and Sleepy Hollow are just two great stories, and just combining them together is perfect. I mean, genuinely, I love the Headless Horseman one. I mean, it's terrifying, has so much atmosphere, it's intense. I mean, it's one of my favorite horror things, admittedly. I mean, genuinely, I would most likely watch The Shore on its own without Wind in the Willows, but still, Wind in the Willows is good, even with it feeling a little out of place, but still, these are nice watches around. This is a nice watch around autumn, and if you haven't seen it, and if you want something to end the month on, or want to watch something for an early month of autumn next year, or whenever really, I'd recommend this. The Princess and the Frog. I don't know why, but I really like this movie, even though this kind of killed 2D animation, which sucks. I do really like this movie. I just love the characters, the voice acting itself. I mean, I don't know why. Tiana, I just love Tiana so much. I don't know why. I just love her character. It's so good. It has one of my favorite Disney villains, and his song is great. Keith David is a genuine legend. I mean, genuinely, this movie is great. The animation is great, music great. I really like this movie. I feel like it's a little underappreciated, and I'm very curious in the series, so I am kind of skeptical, but yeah, for the most part, I do enjoy this movie, and I am kind of looking forward to the show itself. 101 Dalmatians. This is a very cute movie, but even with that, it actually does have a lot of heart. I mean, that scene itself, like, if you've seen it, then you know what I'm talking about. I mean, genuinely, has the right place with emotions and everything, and even with its cuteness itself, it does have serious moments, and even thrilling moments itself. The animation is great, and I just love these characters itself. The animation just fits with this setting, and even though I am not the biggest fan of it, admittedly, I still think it is great. It's really well done, and I do love this movie. I don't know why, I love Winnie the Pooh. I just love this one for some reason. I mean, it's only 63 minutes long. I mean, but I don't know why, I just like it. It has a nice tone itself. It's so nice. I don't know why. It's just sweet. I don't really have that much to say about it, but yeah, this is Disney's last 2D movie, and I kind of wish they did more Winnie the Pooh stuff like this. Then it's just sweet. I just enjoy this movie for what it is. I mean, it's not trying to be on the levels of stuff we'll see later. It just wants to be a fun time, and it delivers. The Little Mermaid, the movie that started the Disney Renaissance, and that made the birth, then the Renaissance that made the birth of DreamWorks. But anyways, yeah, I do like The Little Mermaid. In fact, I kind of enjoyed the remake. I mean, I'm not saying it's good, but it's actually alright. But this movie is still a classic. I mean, genuinely, the animation is amazing. The story itself, I love Ariel. Oh my god, I mean, genuinely, Jodie Benson's, sorry, I have to look it up, performance is just outstanding as her. She takes brief pauses with the music, with, what, Part of Your World, I think it is, sorry, I forgot the name, but, I mean, genuinely, it just really works. I just love her performance. The animation itself is great, the movie is great. I obviously love this movie. And now the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, basically 3 short films in one. And I also like this movie a little more. I mean, they just fit with each other. I just like this movie. It's the same with the other movie, and yeah, I think it's a little better. I just think it works, and it's nice and sweet. It doesn't try to be anything else than that, and it works, and it has nice stories itself. The characters are obviously great, and gave birth to something else. I don't know why, I love Big Hero 6. I mean, genuinely, I just love the characters in this movie. It feels much more different than a Disney movie, and I like how they took a risk, basically. I mean, genuinely, Baymax as a character, I just love Baymax, obviously. I mean, who couldn't? I mean, genuinely, it's just great. It has a lot of heart with it. Even with the twist villain feeling very flawed, and why did Wish for not even put Baymax, but instead the twist villain? But I mean, I do enjoy this movie. I mean, like the villain itself, it's not perfect, but admittedly, yeah. And also the TV show itself, if you haven't seen it, I'd also recommend that too. It's also pretty good. And yeah, this movie is great also, and I just love this movie. Not just because I'm a comic book fan or a Marvel fan, just, you know, I'm a fan of this movie. Top 10, baby, with Moana, which is a movie I really do like also. I mean, genuinely, I mean, not just because it gave birth to one of the best YouTubers ever, but I mean, genuinely, this movie is great, and though the remake is definitely gonna suck, I think it is really great. I love the characters themselves. Moana and Maui are just great. I just love their interactions. I mean, genuinely, Tamatoa himself, for the brief moment he has, is amazing. I mean, genuinely, the animation, Jesus Christ, why is water in animation so good? I mean, genuinely, I mean, this, Luca, stuff like that. I mean, even the Lego movie, where it basically is looking like Lego, it just, genuinely, why is the water so good in animation? I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, dear Lord, this movie is great. I love it. Starting off top 10 strong. Mulan, baby! Not the terrible remake with one of the worst actresses ever, who, I'm not criticizing her for her acting, I mean for her character in real life. But anyways, aside from that, this movie is great. I love this movie. The action itself is amazing. I love Mulan as a character, even though it is westernized, obviously. I just love this movie. It's just so much fun, and even with it, it has so much emotion with it. Like when they're singing, and then when they get to where they attacked, you just know shit has hit the fan. And when she picks up the doll, it just, dear Lord, that scene just hits you. I mean, genuinely, it's such a great movie. I love this movie so much. Another great movie from Disney, obviously. I love this movie so much. Obviously, I'm gonna stop repeating myself, but if you haven't seen it, just what is wrong with you? Go watch it now. It's awesome. Fantasia, the movie that gave me nightmares. Yeah, but admittedly, on a rewatch, I do love this movie. The animation is great, and the music, oh my god, the music is just beautiful. It is like, it's beautiful. It is brilliantly composed, and it fits well with the animation, even though it is the goal with it. I do think it just works perfectly. I mean, genuinely, and the final segment itself just ends it all off beautifully. My only issue with it is its pacing, but still, it is an awesome movie, obviously, and I do love it, and I loved it even more on a rewatch. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, I just want to say, with the gargoyles, I am not a big fan of them, obviously, but I do kind of like them. I mean, I don't think they're as out of place as people say, but even with that, just kind of doesn't feel that much. But aside from that, the movie, it's great. I mean, Quasimodo as a character is just great. It has one of my favorite Disney villains ever. Also, sorry for not putting him on my favorite movie villains, but I mean, genuinely, he is just menacing and evil. You just want to punch him. I mean, he's so menacing and evil, and I love this movie. The music is amazing itself. I mean, I just love this movie, and also it's just beautiful, sad, riveting, just phenomenal. Tale as old as time. True as it... Okay, I'm sorry, I'll straight up now, but, I mean, Beauty and the Beast is great. I recently rewatched this in theaters, and it was just great. It wasn't as great, you know, it didn't really add much with the experience, honestly, but I do love this movie a lot. The opening is amazing that the remake just doesn't understand and is, by the way, one of the worst things. It's a disgrace. But anyways, I mean, generally, this movie's beautiful. While I did have some nitpicks with some stuff I feel like could have been better, I do love this movie, obviously. Beast as a character is one of my favorite Disney characters. I love Belle. I love every single character in the mansion, in the house itself. I mean, genuinely, I mean, Chip, Lucifer, Clock, others, forgot the name, and Gaston is one of my favorite Disney villains also. I mean, obviously, I mean, this is such a great movie, music's great, everything about it is great, though I did have some nitpicks with it and some issues. I do think this movie is amazing. I love Lilo and Stitch. I mean, genuinely, I just love this movie. I love both of these characters. I love all of these characters. I mean, Lilo and Nani are just perfect. I mean, they are just... It's so beautiful. And just thinking about it, I am feeling emotion. Stitch himself, even with him being funny and cute, he is also a great character and has surprisingly a lot of depth for him for someone who just speaks stuff. And with Ohana is family, that scene when he says it, just think about it, I feel like I have a tear in my eye. I mean, genuinely, this movie's beautiful, everything about it. I love this movie, I adore it. I do have hope for the remake because it's from Dean Fleischer Camp, who did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I did love, so I'm hoping this movie may be a little good. And from that first look that we got off Stitch a while back, it kind of looks good. Hopefully it's not as bad as something like, another remake, we'll get to that later, but I mean, genuinely, amazing movie, I love it. Wreck-It Ralph, I love Wreck-It Ralph, I mean, genuinely, at least it doesn't have a groomer in the movie, but, you know, it is amazing, I mean, genuinely, I love Ralph and Vanellope, I mean, genuinely, even if people find Vanellope annoying, I actually kind of like her as a character, and even with the, oh god, you made me sad, you did something that made me sad trope, it has my favorite one off it, in my favorite scene off it, off the trope, in this movie. I mean, genuinely, it's just, dear lord, it's just reckoning. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's just so much. Amazing. I love Wreck-It Ralph. The animation is great, and even with the video game cameos, I do think it is also great, and they're not like, you know, begging for you to feel nostalgic for, you know, it works with it, and I do love it, and it has one of my favorite Disney twists, and it has a lot of great characters and everything. But yeah, I do enjoy this movie a lot. Now we're getting into the good stuff even more. Aladdin. What do I need to say? Robin Williams as a genie is just... He becomes the genie. It was made for him. It's amazing. He has so much energy. I mean, even if someone does a great impression off him with it, it just never beats him. I mean, genuinely. And with him returning in the third movie itself, it also just added a lot. Even with him referencing pop culture references off himself also. But even with that, the movie itself is great. The animation is amazing, even with some outdated CG with the Cave of Wonders, but even with that, it's just amazing. It's so magical. The music, oh my god, the music is so good. The humor itself, it just has a lot of energy, and even with that, it doesn't feel out of place. The characters themselves are great and have a lot of depth. Genie himself, even with him being a comic relief, he is more than a comic relief. Aladdin is a great protagonist. Jasmine is also great. And Jafar, even with the controversy with him, he is also great. You feel a lot of emotions with this movie. I love this movie, and the remake sucks, obviously. But, you know, this movie is a classic for a reason, and obviously I love it. Oh, good lord. I love The Emperor's New Groove. This This is maybe a little too high. I mean, even thinking about it, I feel like wanting to change my ranking off this, but for now I'm gonna keep it this way. I love this movie. It is so funny, and it just works. Even with the pop culture references, it never feels out of place. In fact, there's a lot of times where it makes fun of itself, and even with that, just feel like, even if you feel like it may be a cheap way to get out of it, it actually doesn't kind of feel like it that other movies do and TV shows and stuff like that. I mean, genuinely, it just really works with it. The voice acting is amazing. David Spade, Patrick Warburton. Oh, good lord, where do I begin with him? Obviously, Kronk is just amazing. And I actually enjoy Kronk's new groove, even with it being flawed and not really having amazingness with it. I do kind of have some enjoyment out of it, but yeah, I mean, genuinely, this is a movie that's amazing. I mean, genuinely. And now, here it is. Moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you The Lion King. Obviously, I mean, what else did you think would be number one? I mean, genuinely, this movie is a classic for a reason. The animation is some of the best of Disney. This may be Disney's best animation itself. The music, oh my god, Hans Zimmer, close to his best score. I don't know, I kind of prefer Interstellar and Dune and maybe a couple others, but I mean, genuinely, this score is amazing. It's powerful. Just thinking of scenes itself, it just, ooh, it's just beautiful. It's so beautiful. The music also with the songs, I mean, genuinely, The Circle of Life is just a beautiful song. I mean, it just has the most perfect opening ever. I mean, genuinely, Be Prepared is my personal favorite Disney song and maybe my favorite villain song ever, with a lot, even with there being a lot of stuff like, you know, Blame Canada even. I mean, I don't really think of that as a villain song, but, you know, like, even stuff like that. I mean, this one is better. Hakuna Matata is also great. I mean, even Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which does feel a little cheesy, you know, I'd say this thing, it works. The voice acting, James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons. Oh my god, Rowan Atkinson, who obviously Mr. Bean is amazing. Matthew Broderick, Ferris Bueller himself, does an amazing job, and even with him thinking it was Kimba for the role, I mean, it is genuinely amazing. I mean, just amazing. I mean, everything about this. What else do I need to say? There's a ton of videos about this movie. I love this movie to death, like many other people. So obviously, A+, masterpiece, phenomenal. What else do you want me to say? So that is my Disney ranking. That was a lot, but yeah. So tell me about down below. What is your Disney ranking? Let's agree, disagree down below in the comments. Come on, tell me. I am probably gonna review Fallen Leaves, I think it is. Wednesday, I'm gonna be saying that tomorrow, so yeah. Maybe a couple others. Maybe I'll give you my quick thoughts on that Bad Guys holiday special. Probably not, but I don't know, maybe. If I do ever make changes to this, ranking, then, you can look on my Letterboxd for it. You can go to my Letterboxd movie fandom, just that, no spaces, or movie fandom 345, if you will. If you want to see my list for this, if I ever change it. So yeah, anyways, that's it from me right now. I hope you enjoyed this, and always stay awesome. And now, let us pray for Mickey Mouse, who will be entering the public domain on January 1st of 2024. Even though he stole the spotlight from Oswald the Lucky Rabbit that Universal had the rights to and stole, Mickey Mouse reigns supreme. We will now know that he will not rule the world, but Figment will. As Seth Rogen will give him the weed he wants because he's making out his own movie for him. Let us pray.